We're back, people, and today we're breaking down film on the Miami Dolphins defense versus the Atlanta Falcons. And this was the game where they finally put it together for all 60 minutes. They've been kind of trending in the right direction, but still had too many mistakes that really hurt the team. This was a completely different defense, far and away their best performance. Didn't give up a touchdown until they started putting in some of the backups and the game was over. Really liked what I saw up front to stop the run, holding Bijan uh, like 20 yards on 9 carries is super, super impressive. I think pretty much everyone showed up and, they weren't getting pushed back up front by the defensive line. The linebacker duo played a very strong game. The secondary wasn't allowing, much separation at all. The Falcons did have their problems. They were missing London and their starting quarterback, but it's not like Cousins is a bum out there. But they did a really good job limiting that side of the ball, and I thought that the defense would be more like this. I wasn't like coming into the season. I wasn't expecting them to be like dominant or anything, but I was expecting to see at least a little more of this type of flash early on and have these types of games performances. Some good play out there from I made a video on Jordan Brooks and Dante Trader already before this, so go check that out if you want to see even more clips from this game because I put a lot of those clips in that, and we just got like really solid play all around, and you'll see the guys that kind of showed up. Jalen Phillips doing good work again. This play, this is the first third down. Dolphins consistently stopping the run. I think that was a big part of the game is they got the Falcons into 3rd and 1. They attacked up front, by setting the edge very aggressively versus those tight ends. Great job from the edge group. D tackles didn't get pushed. But then they would get into 3rd and longs, and this is where you can show off, your scheme, and you can really let your players shine. So here you got Chop on one side, and you got Phillips with it down, Chubb there, Brooks, and I believe also Melifonwu showing off the edge to blitz, and they bring all 4 from this side plus Sealer, so you bring 5, but you drop Chop into coverage. But it just leaves like a number advantage on this side, and it gets Phillips a one-on-one with a interior lineman, which he absolutely smokes. Then you loop Brooks around, and now it creates that quick pressure, forces Cousins to basically check down right away. Dolphins are playing Tampa 2 on the back end. Everyone's doing a good job squeezing windows, not giving anything easy down the field. Pretty much the only thing that has a chance is Pitts. And Chop does a good job initially getting out there and slowing it down. He doesn't make the tackle, but not expecting to. He's not a coverage guy. He's not someone who... he's done a decent enough job because of his athleticism, but he does a good job slowing him down. And then Jack Jones able to rally, make that tackle limit. I think that was a big part of the game is Dolphins didn't allow really any yak at all in this one, which is huge. So even if they missed that initial tackle, the yak after it would only go for like either no gain or an extra yard, which was no big deal based on situations. Just the opportunities the Dolphins defense was able to get into because of how effectively they stopped the run made a lot of players look a lot better because those opportunities are more advantageous for the defenders. Here at front, another good play getting this stop. It's a 3rd down situation, and they got all 3 edges on the field again. So you got Chop coming off here, you got Chubb on this side, and you got Phillips basically spying. Which I talked about this a lot during the preseason or like before the season actually started. Was yes, you're gonna get all 3 on the field, but when they get all 3 on the field, I think people expected Chop in the interior. No, it's gonna be Phillips because he's actually like the one better fit for that role. Even though Chop can do it, but Phillips has just this closing speed from distance and this hustle and range that's so impressive. Look at him get to Cousins. He's basically just spying, waiting for him to kind of escape the pocket. Chop's one who initially, kind of starts to split this double right there. If he doesn't get doubled, he's going to, get to the quarterback, beats the right tackle, but the guard helps. He forces Cousins off his spot initially. The coverage on the back end's good. You got Jones, Trader, Minka. Dolphins running a lot of 3 safety looks without that nickel. So like Minka coming down to play as like your nickel is very good. Douglas had a strong game, and Phillips closes distance. They basically are forced to throw it away. Good work there. Later on, so this is a 3rd and 1 situation. Huge play from Sealer because he gets a tackle for loss, which then forces them to kick a field goal. If they gain like 0 on this play, they probably go for it again. And the Dolphins have kind of struggled stopping some short yardage runs. This is such a good play from Zach. So right before this, the Dolphins shifted down like this. Zach was actually more like head up with this tackle, but they shifted down to stop this run. And you can tell Sealer when he did this, he had this in plan. I feel like this was he watched the film, knows what this tackle is going to do. And as soon as he feels like this tackle's first step is towards him, he is able to take back that outside and look at him just throw him by. Boom, club, arm over, get him out of the way. And the fact that he takes the outside, he wins from the outside of him and still gets back across and makes a play on the other side of the formation is insane. And I've been seeing this flash from Sealer. Obviously, it's not his best season, but he's still having these flash plays every game. But he just hasn't been able to, like, usually when he has a play like this where he absolutely dominates an O-lineman, the run's going way far away from him, or it's a pass and he's not able to quite get that impact that he wants. But here's like the one time where it actually is able to impact the play, get across and tackle Algier in the backfield. Everyone else, does a good enough job at least holding their own at the point of attack, and Sealer is able to make the impact play, get that stop. Really wanted to give that shout out to Zach because, I don't think Zach Sealer's all of a sudden has just become a bad player. I just feel like a lot of the situation around them and the spot they've been put into has made life harder on everyone. So when you get to a game like this where, everything kind of is going your way, you're putting these players in better positions, they're able to show what they're capable of. Good work here. I showed this sack from Jordan Brooks in his video. We bring him on the blitz. I wanted to, show it from the back end in this one. So if you've seen this, like, they do a good job with their blitz. They slant everyone to the side here, kind of force the Falcons O-line to basically get into the middle. Everyone gets touched up, and then you bring two people off the left side. It basically forces the Falcons into like that full slide, and it puts Bijan in a situation where he has to pick and choose. And then you also drop Jalen Phillips. We've talked about the edges dropping a little bit too much, but here's a situation where it works. You basically combine your blitz package with your coverage look, and it actually does what it's supposed to do. Because this is usually what you're trying to do when you bring pressure off the edge. You get the right call versus what they're doing pass protection wise. And when the edge drops, he's not supposed to do anything magical, but he's supposed to take away the initial window. And since he drops into that hook, he takes that away. Duck comes down, takes away the flat. The Dolphins are rotating into like that Tampa 2 look. You got Minka and Trader on the back end. Phillips takes away that initial. Duck takes away that there. And now since Cousins has to go to the other side of the field, that's when you get the sacks. When you're able to take away the quick, hot options for the quarterback and he has to work to the other side, get to his second, third read, that's when you start seeing the sacks start to come when you marry the coverage with your pressure package. And then the run defense was just good all night long. I mean, I showed a lot of the Brooks plays in his film breakdown, but I love this play from Jordan Phillips. Watch this from Jordan Phillips. He gets cut by 71 on the back end. So he gets cut. Look at him, just like the contorted in-air athleticism right there, and look at him just barrel roll out of it and still make the tackle. I love that effort from Phillips on the back end to do that, roll out of it, make that play. And then also that shows how good the front end of this play was. Like, this was something the Dolphins really dominated at in the run, was Phillips and Chubb just setting the edge versus tight end, because the Falcons really try to, run that outside zone to the play side of the tight end. We Dolphins fans know how difficult of a job that really is for tight ends, because that's made Julian Hill look really bad in the past. When you ask him to do this stuff, they set the edge, and then you got everyone else, Sealer taking on double teams. Dotson comes down, takes on this tight end. They do a good job. Benito kind of fights back in to hold his ground, and then everyone kind of converges. You even got Douglas getting into the backfield there from the corner position. Just everyone doing a really good job with their run fits. Really liked seeing that from the group in that situation. This was what Dolphins defense didn't have too many negative plays, and honestly, I don't even count this one as that negative. I think this is more on the ref. They go play action and they try to take that early down shot down the field. And Rizzo Douglas is in great position, and I think it's a very weak PI call. They're kind of hand fighting right there, but I think it's a veteran move how he kind of holds that hand down. I don't think it should have been called PI. And this is a very interesting call where they're kind of selling this quarters look, but Melifanu ends up sitting down, and it kind of creates where he's playing as that middle hook. They take away everything. Everything's taken away here. I love how, Jordan Brooks, they really sold it to stop Bijan. They didn't even want to. I like how the Dolphins were like, hey, we're not even going to give you really checkdowns to Bijan. If you complete a checkdown to him, we're going to immediately be there to tackle. This is taken away. He takes away this. They might be able to hit this dig behind it, but based on these two defenders, it'd be a very difficult throw. Everything's covered up. I think it's a pretty bad call, pretty weak. Dolphins do end up getting lucky. This is probably the one lucky play the defense got. was Bijan kind of fumbling on his own right here. He tries to make this cut. He starts to lose it right here. No one touches him. So Dotson and gets a little bit of a lucky fumble recovery, but it was actually not a bad play for Miami defensively because look at Grant here. Grant does draw the holding, so he gets immediately reached by 64, but he does a good job fighting through that contact, really like, okay, now that he's reached me, he's going to be a little bit off balance here. I'm going to take advantage of that. Good pad level, fight through it. If Grant doesn't get pulled to the ground here, he's probably in a position to make that at least slow down Bijan. So he gets held. So even if it doesn't turn into a fumble, this is a play that ends up becoming, a 10-yard penalty. So wanted to, at least show some good to that from Grant forcing that. I think Grant had another, decent game. He didn't play a ton of snaps. The Dolphins defense in general just didn't play a lot of snaps. They were getting off the field very early. I think that's a very good thing that the Dolphins offense was able to control the game, be able to consistently run the ball, have a high time of possession. And the defense was able to stay off the field, stay fresh. It was about as good as a team win as I've seen in a long time. Usually it's only one group performing in a lot of their wins. Even in their losses, it's usually just one group. Then you have some other good plays. This was just a play where, on the back end, I'll probably have a Chop video out tomorrow. I think Chop's been good in his recent time. Here's Chop having a nice pressure versus the left tackle around the edge. You also get to see this. You get to see the Dolphins' last 2 first-round picks have really good reps here rushing the passer. Chop and Grant versus 2 veteran players. Chop kind of wins around the edge, uses a good hand fighting, and then is able to dip underneath. And then Grant, with pure power, pushes Lainstrom back into the face of the quarterback. So they do a good job pressuring Cousins. And then you get Douglas isolated on Falcons' best receiver in this game, who's Mooney, because London's out, closing downhill, making a good play. I would say other than that Panthers game, Douglas has been very solid for you this season. He's done a good job. Got to give Rasul his credit. Unfortunately, the defense in general had, if the Dolphins just didn't have as slow as a start, because I have a feeling the rest of the season is going to look, not much better, but definitely a bit better. They're still not going to be favored in a ton of games, but I do think they're going to be more competitive. They're going to win more games, probably still, be probably in that middle of the pack range. But if they had a stronger start, won some of those games that were coin flips, because they lost pretty much all of the coin flip games early on, they would be at least in a position to have a chance to, fight for a spot. Now they kind of have to win out, but they're getting Lamar and the Ravens on Thursday night. But yeah, really good player from Douglas. Good play from the young guys up front. Coverage on the back end was very solid in this game. Here's a play that I broke down in the Trader video, but I wanted to give it some credit here because this is a play the Dolphins have kind of struggled with all season. So the Dolphins run a lot of Tampa 2, a lot of cover 2. So here's Tampa 2 again. They rotate into it. Tampa 2 invert, which one I love the look, because usually basic Tampa 2 is Minka drop deep half, Trader drop deep half, but they actually have Minka fly down to play the hook. Sheffield becomes the flat. Then I believe Jack Jones plays deep half over here. So they play inverted to that side. Here's a normal Tampa 2, but he does rotate pre-snap to post-snap to get out here. This is a play the Dolphins have struggled with. Douglas squeezing the flat, so they run smash to this side of the field, which is a cover 2 beater. You kind of read the corner, and if the corner squeezes the flat, you throw the corner route behind it. And usually, since Douglas isn't gaining depth, this is a completion because the safeties on the back end just have not been able to get there. It is a tough play for them to get there. The fact that he shows the range and instincts to make that play at the catch point is so good. Love seeing that for the kid. Trader was really good in this game, and hopefully he can build off of this. And especially since the last time he played, he didn't play in the Browns game. The last time he played was him missing that Chargers tackle at the end of the game, that he was able to bounce back and have one of the stronger performances of the season, just on defense in general, is very encouraging. And that was a 3rd down. Now you get to the 4th down, and you just get a really quick pressure from Chop up front. You get to see that explosiveness. Chop taking advantage of that inside. You can just see, he flies off the ball here. Really good explosiveness. That first step, you can just see him. Right tackle oversets a little bit. He sees Bijan outside releasing. Sees he might get chipped there, so he just takes the inside path. Is able to get to Cousins so fast. And the Dolphins, the fact that Chop gets there so fast, and they only bring 2. Sealer drops into coverage. Look at this. Look who's on the line here. Chop, Sealer, Phillips, Judon, and Chubb. They have all 4 edges out there and their best D tackle. And they only end up bringing 2 because Sealer drops. And Phillips kind of plays as a spy. If Cousins going to escape, he's going to, chase after him. The fact that Chop gets after the QB that fast with only 2 going, and even Chubb is kind of there to uh, do a decent job too. And then you just have Douglas on the back end, not allowing separation in man to man. Everything's covered up. It's a 4th and 4. Really, really good rep there. And then last play, I broke this down in the Trader film as well, but this is just another example of improved defensive play and limiting yak opportunities. Kyle Pitts, not the best yak tight end, but great play from Trader. Falcons adjusted into this because they saw Minka was blitzing pre-snap. They throw that down the flat. Trader takes a great angle, takes on this block, doesn't allow Pitts to the outside, and then it allows Melifonwu to get a much easier tackle attempt. This is a play in the past that like a team would have adjusted to, and I feel like the Dolphins would have given him a first down somehow on a 4th down. This is a 4th down situation, like 4th and 7, and they don't give him a first down. They don't even let him get close. So great work. Safety play was much better. I mean, everything was better in this game. Hopefully they can build upon that. I wouldn't be surprised because last year we did see the defense kind of a similar arc. It wasn't as bad in the beginning of the year, but it did kind of reach new levels once it reached a halfway point. And I do think the defense will be better as the year goes on. I don't think they're ever going to be world beaters or anything. I'm sure they'll still have their struggles versus top QBs, better offenses. But I do think you're going to see at least a little bit more consistent play out of the group, and I think at least somewhat more middle of the pack rather than worst defense in the league. At least that's my projection for them at this point. I mean, still got to see it happen. And then I think the offense will be relatively similar to what we've seen in games where they're able to doing what they want to do, still be very effective, have their struggle games in situations where they usually struggle, like bad weather, on the road, very good defenses. But this one had a couple of that. They had a very good Falcons have the best pass defense, and it's on the road. But obviously, it's in the dome, so that helps. But yeah, so overall, really liked what I saw. The defense was very well game planned. Got to give Weaver credit. I don't think I mentioned Weaver at all in this video. Got to give him credit. And then just give credit to the players for executing and clearly playing with a lot of heart, which, I think there's a lot of teams that wouldn't play with heart with the position they were in. So, man, I really wish they didn't have a slow start because I do think, sometimes it's an any given Sunday type of league. And I think the Dolphins just have been a better team than they've shown in the first, 7 weeks or whatever it was. I think they were definitely more, like, I know they have some talent deficiencies, but I do think they were still better than what they were showing. And I think this is at least a sign of that. We'll see if it actually ends up continuing. I think we'll see it more often, but it won't be like a thing every game. So yeah, if you just really like comments, what happens gonna be.